All of you here with us in our meeting place and the county office building, and welcome to those of you who are out watching us. I would like to call our meeting to order. If we will have our roll call next. Would you do our invocation, please? Sure. And Dr. Johnson, would you do our pledge? Sure. Thank you. Yes. Who did not? There we go. Over there. Let's stand, please.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you this morning for your many blessings upon us. We thank you once again for the opportunity of assembling together as a board and as a community. We thank you for each one that is present in our meeting today, those who are watching us by way of television. We pray, Father, that each and everything we do as a board will be that which is best for those that we represent, and help us, Father, always to glorify you in each and everything we do. These blessings we pray in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Let us raise the flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion approval of the agenda.
Second.
Okay, if we'll vote on that, please. And before we start this morning, I'd like to recognize our interim finance director, Chris. Welcome, and we'll try to be nice today. Thank you very much for being here.
She's not speaking for the entire board.
Trying to, but it's been hard. And on the back here, if we have two 4-H'ers who are visiting, they have to come to view and participate in a county government event. Would you all stand, please? And welcome. And I think the young lady is going to Raleigh soon. Is that correct? Yeah. Well, good, and congratulations. Thank y'all for being here. Okey-doke. Our first order of business is a resolution of appreciation honoring Sidney A. Locks, Jr.
Motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, let's vote, please. And Reverend Locks, if you'll come forward, and if your lovely wife will come with you, we'd like to have her come stand with you, and anyone else you have with you that you'd like to come up.
Where would you want me to stand now, Madam Chair?
Oh, right up here, I'm sorry. We're moving a little slow this morning. Right up here would be great. Good morning. Good morning. You again.
Good morning.
Come on, Pastor. Good. How you doing? Okay. Hey, good morning. So this morning, the Pitt County Board of Commissioners has a resolution of appreciation to honor you, Pastor Locks. And Madam Chairman, if you would allow me to
if you'll read it, that would be
I think this will be
wonderful.
self-explanatory.
I had the pleasure of doing a presentation at the convention center. A wonderful celebration. What a fine event.
This resolution is entitled Office of the Pitt County Board of Commissioners, Greenville, North Carolina, Resolution of Appreciation honoring Sidney A. Locks, Jr. Whereas Sidney A. Locks, Jr. is a resident of Pitt County, North Carolina, and where Pastor Locks is an alumnus of Wiley College, where he completed a Bachelor of Arts degree in Religion and Philosophy. And whereas Pastor Locks is also an alumnus of Interdenominational Theological Center, where he completed a Master's of Divinity. And whereas Pastor Locks served as the pastor of Cornerstone Missionary Baptist Church in Greenville, North Carolina from December 1st, 1989 to May 31st, 2012. And whereas under Pastor Locks' leadership, Cornerstone Missionary Baptist Church secured more than 9 acres of property, paid off its mortgages, built a 7,000 square foot child development center, and converted 44 apartments units into senior living facility, built a family life center, and founded numerous programs to assist members of the congregation and community. Whereas Pastor Locks previously served as pastor of Sandy Grove Baptist Church in Lumberton, North Carolina, in Wheat Street Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, where he was ordained into gospel ministry. And whereas Pastor Locks has been involved in facilitating numerous ministries, including the CCCDC Incorporated, which is the Cornerstone Christian Child Development Center, the Holistic Housing Incorporated, the Cornerstone Ministry Incorporated, and he's the co-founder of Life of North Carolina, which is Strive. Whereas Pastor Locks has served in the North Carolina House of Representatives as well as on many boards and committees, such as the Greenville-Pitt County Chamber of Commerce, past president of the Pitt County Black Ministers Conference, past president of the Greenville Interfaith Fellowship Team, the Greenville Food Bank, the Martin/Pitt County Partnership for Children, and Smart Start program. Whereas Pastor Locks received the Best Irons Humanitarian Award and the 2000 Citizen of the Year Award from the Greenville-Pitt County Chamber of Commerce. And whereas Pastor Locks is a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, the Alpha Phi Omega, the NAACP, the SCLC, the ACLU, Masons, Progressive National Baptist Convention, Carpenters Consistory, and Shriners. And whereas Pastor Locks, through his visionary leadership, has demonstrated unwavering commitment to improving the quality of life for all citizens. Now therefore it be resolved that the Pitt County Board of Commissioners does hereby honor one of its own, Pastor Sidney A. Locks Jr., for his outstanding achievements on dynamic vision. Adopted the 6th day of August 2012, signed by the Chairman Beth B. Ward and attested by the Board's Clerk Kimberly W. Hines. Will you present that?
I'd like for you to say a few words if you would like to, and if you'd like to introduce these people you have up here with you, that would be great.
I'd be proud. Right, standing right here. Thank you. Madam Chair, Mr. Manager, to the members of this distinguished Public Service Board. My wife is with me. My 3 brothers are with me. Pierce, Smith, excuse me. Brother Tyson. When Carol and I thought about where we would move from Lumberton, we chose Pitt County. We didn't choose a church as much as we chose a community. And we're proud of that. Ladies and gentlemen, your work is underappreciated. In Louisiana, where I grew up, the saying is, a heap see, but a few know. But we appreciate all that you do. And you do it behind the scenes, and you do it consistently and persistently. And we have been the direct recipients thereof. And I really accept this award not because of anything I've done, but because you guys are making this place a better place for everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all so much for being here. We really do feel honored. The next item on our agenda is public address to the board.
Madam Chairman, nobody signed up at this point?
Okay, did anyone come in late? Okay, all right, fine. Our next item are items for report from our manager, Scott Elliott.
Yes, Madam Chairman. The first item A is an announcement of your next meeting dates. Monday, August the 20th at 6 p.m. will be a regular meeting for the month of August. And then in the month of September, there will only be one meeting due to the Labor Day holiday, and that'll be the second Monday of September the 10th at 9 a.m. Item B is just to remind you of the upcoming NCACC, North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Conference. That'll be August 16th through 19th, and will be hosted by Wake County. Item C is to announce for the board and the public's information the third running of the City County 8K race. That's a 5-mile run race and a 1-mile fun run. That will be on Saturday, August the 25th, and that is a fundraiser for a couple nonprofits in Pitt County. I think the Art Council and the Go Science. And we invite any commissioners to come out and walk, run,
Crawl.
and participate.
Observe.
Yeah,
I'll do the go flag. How about
okay.
that?
Observing would be fine too. Item D, labeled fiscal year 12-13 ABC Board quarterly distributions. The board is aware, saw a letter that was put in your weekly info packet regarding a meeting that was held by myself and the former Deputy County Manager, Chief Financial Officer, with the ABC Board folks, their board chair and their director. They have asked to, in terms of quarterly distributions, to slightly alter the first quarter and second quarter, and we are in 100% agreement now in terms of what they're trying to do. The board, by the end of the second quarter, will receive the full amount of the distribution. So then third quarter and fourth quarter should put us on line to receive the $1.1 million distribution that the board has requested. Item E, the Greenville-Pitt County Chamber of Commerce is planning an intercity visit. The last time they did this, the chamber went to, in the community with the chamber, went to Athens, Georgia. This time, it's been probably 6 years since they've done this. They are planning to go to Greenville, South Carolina. That'll be September 5th through 8th, and if any board members are interested in that, please see me. There's 2 different levels of participation, depending upon which track you want to go on. Item F, this is a report concerning the Human Services Building. On Wednesday, July the 4th, we had a water leak at the building. It was more of a water flood than a water leak on the first floor. Somebody from the Sheriff's Department just happened to come in. They were trying to access the second floor, and thank goodness they discovered the major leak. Probably about 40% of the first floor was basically flooded with several inches of water. That day we had 2 different companies in extracting the water. You'll see there's an agenda item later on the agenda for $200,000. The work out there is covered by insurance. There's a $25,000 deductible under the policy. We're hoping to recover a portion of that through the in-kind work, our own folks working on site, painting and so forth, but we will be putting in new carpet. We've taken out a good amount of the drywall in the building in the affected areas and doing any type of environmental cleanup that's necessary.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Did you get bids on that?
No, it's not within the threshold of needing to do that. We're using our own folks as well as we have a painter out there.
All right, I learned during the flood of '99 that you can do a lot of work that's unnecessary. It dries out and it's just as good as it ever was. I can prove to it by coming to my house, and I'll show you that I did nothing to it. It's just as good now as it ever was. So we don't want to be doing work such as your air conditioning and stuff like that if it doesn't need it, is what I'm saying.
Right. Well, basically, we're only talking about a couple inches of water on the floor. We've taken out a good amount of wallboard, maybe 2 feet high from the floor up, and have found some things in there that needed to be addressed. So, I mean, we're not going above and beyond any more than we have to.
But I know, but $200,000 to do that is a lot of money.
This
I don't care
building,
what you say.
this building is probably less than 20 years old. If we don't do the right thing up front, we'll pay the price down the line.
Remember what I told you, you do a lot of work that's unnecessary, you throw your money away. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
We don't need to be spending money that we don't need to spend.
Item G, I want to give the board an update regarding the recruitment process for the Deputy County Manager / Finance Director position. Obviously, Ms. Bryan's last day was with the county was July 31st.
Spend money, they ain't got-
Since the point in time that she announced her intention to retire, we obviously advertised for this position. We then accepted applications and have gone through the first series of interviews. The interview team consisted of myself, the county attorney, the Deputy County Manager Mike Taylor, the HR Director, and then we added in Wanda Uhas from the Development Commission, and then Jeff McCauley, who is the Greenville Utility Commission's Chief Financial Officer. Our team went through and did the first round of interviews, and we're moving now towards a second round, and that will be consisting of myself, the County Attorney, and Mike Taylor. So hope to, later this month, maybe mid-month, be able to have a decision and an announcement. This person probably would not start until, I anticipate, probably mid-September or late September. Item H is a positive good news announcement regarding our County Attorney, Janice Gallagher. She was recently elected the President of the North Carolina Association of County Attorneys. I want to give her some accolades for
I think we
that.
can. Congratulations.
And with that, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Our next item of business is Chris McDaniel. Chris, if you'll come forward. This is another good report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As you know, as the abstract reads, the Financial Services Department was awarded its 22nd consecutive Certificate of Achievement of Excellence in Financial Reporting. This is awarded to us from the GFOA, which is the Government Financial Officers Association of the United States and Canada. This award is for the CAFR dated June 30th, 2011, which we're currently working on a 2012 CAFR. The award is mainly for the demonstration of full financial disclosure and a clearly presented financial report. We've also was presented an award of financial reporting achievement, the AFRA on there, also with this certificate. So that's
Okay.
my report.
Chris, I'm not putting you on the spot, but how many times has Pitt County been awarded?
22 consecutive.
22 consecutive times, and that is quite an accomplishment out of how many counties? I'm not sure. Does anybody know?
I'm not
That's
sure.
okay. I'm not putting you on the spot, but it's not like it's 2 or 3. It's a large number.
Yep.
And for a county our size, that's quite an accomplishment. Good. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Chris. I'll entertain a motion to
So moved.
approve items
Second.
for consent. Okay, let's vote.
Could I ask a question about one or two of them?
That are on here?
Yes.
Sure.
All right, I was seeing that the health department's getting approximately $800,000 plus dollars, and one or two of those, like the triple P, what is that? I'd like to know what this money, it's a lot of money. Is there any overlapping for thing that can reduce the budget that they will be presenting next year, Mr. Chairman? How does that work? Because you got to be looking for next year.
The CPPW is Communities Putting Prevention to Work initiative. It addresses the risk factor of physical inactivity of and poor nutrition in folks. This is a multi-year grant, and it actually ends September. This is the final phase. It's been a number of years we've had it. It ends September 30th, 2012. And as I recall, this is for not just Pitt County, but a number of counties.
But what is it earmarked? What type of people is it being used for?
Those who, I guess, lack physical activity and poor nutrition. Those segments of the population. There's no county funds on this. There's no match.
I know, but it's kind of disturbing to me. You're talking about where it's county funds and what it is money that we have to pay in, Mr. Manager.
There's no county money that's paying
I know
for this.
that, but somebody's paying it, and we're borrowing and going deeper in debt once.
No, these are grant funds.
Okay, all right, I'll
say-
leave it alone.
I'll suggest having Dr. Morrow come maybe at the future meeting and make a report as to
How-
what the outcomes have been. And
Yeah. I think we owe it.
I'm not sure, but a lot of these grants, don't they, they're very specific as to
Yes.
how they can be used. And I think that, most of the time, our grants don't carry over. You just have to reapply the next year, but I'm sure that it's helping in this present budget year.
Yes, it's carryover from last year, and again, it ends September 30th of this year.
Okay, any other questions, Mr. James?
No, that's all.
Okay. All right, our first and only item for discussion is the Pitt County Voluntary Agricultural District Ordinance. And if that team will come forward. Welcome. And if you'll identify yourself and tell us who you are and what you do.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity this morning to discuss the concept of voluntary ag districts with Pitt County. My name is Brian Evans. I'm Director of the Soil and Water Conservation Department for Pitt County. I have with me today Mr. Jerry Dorsett, who is a consultant who has worked on voluntary ag districts and other things related to agricultural protection and recognition. Agriculture and forestry are a rich part of the heritage and play a major role in the economy of Pitt County. Based on our most recent statistics, ag has produced over $154 million in cash receipts in that year alone. Of the 417,000 acres that make up Pitt County, greater than half of the land mass is designated as farm and forest lands. Voluntary ag districts are allowed under state general statute to recognize agriculture and forest lands within a county. These districts also provide public awareness of practices used in these industries. Presently, Pitt County is one of only 17 counties in our state that hasn't yet to implement the voluntary ag districts. Voluntary ag districts are totally voluntary. Lands that qualify as set by general statute can be enrolled through an application process that will be reviewed and approved by an advisory board that is appointed per county policy for appointments to boards and commissions. The enrolled tracts will have a conservation agreement between the county and the owner for a term of 10 years. These agreements can be revoked by written request at any point during the term of the agreement. Recognition of the enrolled lands will be handled through signage, which will be placed on the tracts that are enrolled, as well as a GIS layer on the OPUS site that the Pitt County currently uses. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jerry Dorsett, our consultant, to give some additional information on voluntary ag districts.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Share a little story with you. This is quick. I grew up in a very rural county south of Greensboro, and I rode a school bus every day, 45 minutes to school, 45 minutes back. It's all dirt, all that. Had a student driver those days. And you know that route, if you weren't a farm kid, it was real unusual. Now I'm 54 years old this month, and if you ride that same route today, there's one really legitimate farm left. County just didn't plan in that respect, and all the farming on that road's gone now. Whole busload of farm kids on there, and then today it'd be lucky if there was one. And that's kind of what this is about, the voluntary ag districts. This is a program that falls under the Department of Agriculture. As Brian said, there's 83 counties now that have adopted a voluntary ag district ordinance. And the program's been around since 1986 by state law. There's state legislation behind this to give it authority. I notice on your seal up there you have agriculture listed first. That's encouraging. That tells me you still care about it. But you know, we're in a changing society now, and it's real common to be in agriculture and farming or some other practices this day and time and have a housing development come in or new neighbors. And they think it's neat to be out in the country next to a farm, and then eventually things can be a little bit different. And they say, why do we have a farm here? You know, they make a little noise at night. They're on the road with their tractors, and that's kind of inconvenient. And this is a way of saying, okay, we recognize farming, and if your county adopts this, and I would encourage you to do that, what you do is you'll be establishing an agricultural advisory board. That'll be a board of representatives that understand agriculture, and they have a responsibility to keep you informed, to put a report together once a year of this is what ag is in Pitt County, these are the individuals we've signed up, and also to give a report to the Department of Agriculture. They also would have a responsibility to say, here's some things we're doing that could help agriculture in the future. These are some things that we're doing that could be detrimental. These are things to consider in the future as we want to plan and take care and to make certain that we're not all ag, but we maintain our ag heritage in the county, and the ag can continue to operate and be profitable and be sustainable. When you look across the state, I know ag's big here, but ag's about 1/5 of our jobs in the state, about 1/5 of our economy. It counts for about over $70 billion of North Carolina's economy, more than the military, more than Parks and Rec and forestry all put together. So you think we have a tough economy now, think about if ag was pulled off the table and wasn't a part of what we have. But I mentioned you'll have a board here. It'll be an opportunity, voluntary, the capital V, farmers and landowners and foresters and horticulture people can sign up, participate. They can voluntarily remove themselves if they don't want to be a participant anymore. I think that's why it's been such a success in the 83 counties. None have backed out of the program, and we see several that are working on this to bring the ordinances in place with this and to have a voluntary ag. It's a good way to take care of ag and make certain it's on a firm footing. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those, and I think I have said enough for now.
Okay, just a moment, do we have some questions? Yes. Commissioner Smith.
If you sign up, what limitations do you have on your farmland?
As far as limitations,
Yes.
you wouldn't be allowed to go into a business, say for instance, let's say you have a farm of 200 acres. If you wanted to continue in the voluntary ag district and you said, you know, I want to be in the VAD, but I'm going to do something completely different with my land, say I want to put a shopping mall or I want to put a housing development, you would simply have to withdraw from the VAD. And then, you know, you could do as you wanted to with your land. But you just have to maintain the spirit and what we say agriculture is in North Carolina.
Other than what you said, what's the benefits to the farmer?
Okay. If you want, first of all, want Pitt County to continue to recognize farm, because one day this board will be more urban than it is today. It may be a long time, but at some point it will be. And if you're in farming, and let's say a housing development were to come up down the road from you, the housing development can be there, you can be there. Or let's say you get a neighbor across the road that moves in and they say, this is great, I live in the country, you have a farm, I like that. And then they start saying, you know, once in a while I get on the road and you're on your tractor and I have to wait till you can turn off and do your business. Or you're out there at night, and that kind of bothers me, that you can be out there at night making noise doing what you want to do. I'd like to see you not being in farming anymore. If you sign up for this, there are right to farm laws in all 50 states. This puts you on record as being in farming officially. And it's a little bit of protection. It doesn't mean a road couldn't come through your house. It doesn't mean you couldn't sell your land. It doesn't mean your land couldn't be developed someday. But it's a recognition for what you do. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there monetary benefits for the farmer, other than what you have said?
Jerry, will you
And
get
it's-
up to the...
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay. If Pitt County wants to apply for a grant through the North Carolina Department of Agriculture, or if you want to go through the district or the county to apply for some grants, maybe to enhance your operation or do something different agriculturally, you would be given extra points in the process to secure grant funding.
Okay.
And from our perspective as a conservation department, it does increase communication between us and farm and landowners as far as any environmental concerns or conservation concerns or programs that are out there that may better fit those farms. So it opens up that dialect between us and them. And the conservation agreement there again would kind of ensure that they didn't have any major conservation issues. It does not give any protection against any state laws or any environmental rules or regulations or anything like that. It does not allow any of that, but it does give that additional recognition. So.
Okay. Mr. Garris?
Yes, Madam Chairman. My opinion is, after reading the data, that it is a good program. The thing that I like about it is that it is voluntary. And then if you volunteer to get involved, and you decide later you want to get out, you have the flexibility to do that. So I like that. It is also consistent with our heritage. We are an agricultural community, not as much now as we used to be, but we're still an agricultural community. Two questions I had. Number one is the agenda abstract says that to assist with the cost of establishing a grant has been obtained. So are there additional costs that would be incurred by the county in implementing this?
No, sir, not once the ordinance is adopted. Any fees that would be associated with enrolling in the voluntary ag district would be the be subject to the people enrolling. The biggest thing we see will be probably cost of signage for voluntary ag districts, because there will be no recording fees for the conservation easement likely associated. Those will be developed, but any fees will be covered at that time. The main thing we needed startup costs were to get some signs in hand, so once we get this thing rolling, we'll have the signs ready to go, as well as some additional help from outside sources to get our ordinance in place and get it drafted.
And the
such.
grant will cover that startup cost?
Yes, sir.
Okay. One other question. On page 71, this may be directed to our attorney. It says there in the section 2, the third burger dot, actually the third and the fourth burger dot, it refers to producers participating in the program. And I was just wondering, should that be landowner? Because on page 74 and 75, where it talks about the application procedure or the appeal procedure, it references landowner, because a producer and a landowner could be two different people. And I would think that the authority to join or decide to get out of this program would be up to the landowner, not the producer.
And that's correct. It would be the landowner, because it would have to be the person with the authority to enter into that conservation easement for the land.
Okay, so on
that
page
change can be
71,
made,
that
yes.
should be changed to landowner. Those there are 3 references there to producer.
Thank you for noting that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. James.
I believe it's a good thing. All you have to do is to look at Pitt County 20 years ago and look at it today. Look in my neighborhood, how things have changed. And I often wonder, 20 years from now, how is Pitt County going to look? Most of us here will probably be gone, so we're not going to know, but what we do today will affect what this county is going to be like tomorrow. What I like also, Commissioner Garris, about this is we're going to have a public hearing pertaining to this on the 20th. The people of Pitt County will have an opportunity to take and to come here and to voice their opinions. And that's what I'm concerned with. But I believe if the owners of this land, and Jimmy, I appreciate you bringing it out, if the owners of this land will look at it with an open mind, that they're going to support it. Remember, every county in Pitt County has adopted this. None of them, and they've been in it for many years, has decided to get out. And they have that freedom of choice. And I'm like Jimmy again, if I don't like it, I get out. It's just that simple. So I think it's a win-win situation regardless of what anybody, landowners, and I do hope to participate, but we will see. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay, yes.
I just
Commissioner
want-
Johnson.
Based on the
I just
last
wanted
20
to contact,
years, next 20 years,
comment,
you're gonna be
Mr.
right
James, you'll be here 20 years from now.
This will be gone, but he'll be here.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, Commissioner Owens.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made to approve this and seconded. Let's vote, please.
And by approving, that means you'll set a public hearing for your
Yes.
next.
Yes.
Thank you, at our next meeting. And I'd like to say 2 things. One, I think we, as a county, need to make sure that we get some information out to our agricultural community that clarifies this some, and I'm not sure exactly how we'll do that, but maybe our communications director can help us with that, because to me, it is such a positive thing. To me, it shows anyone in the county, regardless of whether they're in agriculture or not, and any visitors driving by, that agriculture is important to us in Pitt County. And the other thing, it's just an opportunity for us to recognize not only our roots, but you stated agriculture, how much as far as employment is concerned?
Almost 20% of the state.
Okay, almost 20% of the state, and we need to, it's not just protecting it. To me, it's almost like a public relations program where we let people know that agriculture is important to us in this area. And thank you very much for coming and presenting today, and Brian, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll start our agenda for items for decision. And Chris, you're back up again.
As the manager discussed earlier, there was a water main break, not main, but a leak, a flood. And in this, the Human Services building was flooded, and the estimates are in the $200,000 range. In your packet, you'll see a proposed budget amendment that would cover the cost of deductible by taking it out of the contingency line item, $25,000, and recognizing the insurance proceeds, net $175,000. And the repairs and maintenance would come out of the buildings and grounds. It would increase their budget by $200,000. And that is
Okay.
the item that we're presenting.
All right.
Madam Chairman, we already discussed this, so I would make a motion that we go on and adopt this amendment.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, let's vote, please. Okay, it's passed. Thank you very much. Nolie, the emergency management, if you will come forward for a budget amendment.
Morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Come before you again this morning asking for the use of contingency fund for a part-time fire inspector. We continue to have an absence of a staff member right now because of medical leave, and we need to try to maintain these mandatory fire inspections throughout the county. So we're asking to, if you would, allow us to use $3,230 of contingency fund. That's for inspector for about 30 hours a week for an additional 5 weeks.
Any questions?
Move approved.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made. Let's vote.
Thank you.
Okay, it passes. Thank you, Mr. Lee. And Chris, you're back up again.
Chair, our next item is the award of financing and adoption of a budget amendment for the EMS defibrillators. This is as part of our fiscal year 2012-13 budget. We did include the debt service to purchase the defibrillators for all of the EMS squads. You'll see listed the financial institutions that were bid on the project. PNC was recommended with the lowest rate. The equipment to be purchased was Zoll equipment, which is consistent with our current equipment that we have. And the terms of the purchase was originally $611,000, but a subsequent revision of the bid come in lower by down to $589,000.
Good.
So again, this Zoll is that equipment is consistent with what we have currently and would work with our current equipment. So we ask that we approve the budget amendment and go ahead and proceed with the closing documents. And in your packet, you'll see a resolution and also the guidelines to the Zoll bid, which come in at a total of $589,881.61.
That was a good start, Chris, to come in under the original plea. Okay, I'll entertain a motion or any discussion or questions. Yes.
How many bids, how many people did you have bidding on this? Or did I not read that?
You had PNC, Wells
No, I'm
Fargo.
not talking about that. That's your borrowing. I mean on the purchase.
I'm may address that, the second paragraph in your agenda abstract talks about the Board of Commissioners, and I wanted to bring that to your attention as well, Madam Chairman, that in addition to approving the financing, this board would need to approve the Zoll purchase as a sole source. So it was not bid at all, to answer your question. There were no other bids. Any equipment purchase over $90,000 is subject to the public bidding law unless there's an exception. One of those exceptions is when compatibility or standardization with existing equipment is the overriding factor. My understanding from the emergency management folks is that there is no other equipment available that's compatible with the hospital's interface network and the current Zoll equipment on their trucks now. And so it's really a two-part approval in this abstract. One is to approve the financing, and second is to approve the purchase from Zoll as a sole source exception to the public bidding laws, if the board is so comfortable doing.
That's in essence what I understood, but I want to hear you say it. But how did you go about going from 611 to 589 then? How did you negotiate to get it reduced to that?
The original $611,000, that was identified back at budget time as to what Zoll identified the cost would be. When we were looking for the paperwork, we could not find our copy of it, so we asked Zoll to duplicate the paperwork, and they sent us in paperwork for less money. So we said, thank you, we'll take it.
Do you think it's worth trying to negotiate any more with? That's my point.
No, they've done it.
I'd say no at this point, unless, Noel, are you still here?
Well, and the only other thing I would add to that is the 589 is, this equipment was also available under state contract. And at 611, the price was even lower than the state contract price. We've looked at vendors outside of North Carolina to see if we were going to piggyback at all on a better rate, and this 589 is even lower than what was available to other vendors. So I believe we're at the lowest price possible. I'm not sure that Zoll necessarily intended when we asked, or when Jack Cody asked for an additional estimate to attach to the abstract, because when the abstract came through, the way it really came about was, in reviewing this, we said we need the equipment so that the board can also approve it as a sole source exception under the public bidding laws, and we wanted to attach an equipment list. And in the printing of agenda, when they sent us the new attachment of the equipment list, the price was lower. So I don't know that additional negotiation would get us any lower, and I'm comfortable that we are significantly below state contract and other contracts in similar jurisdictions.
Well, that's why I asked you the question, because all that conversation you've been giving me and the manager gave me, I didn't have here. I'll make a motion after Gene, Madam, if you want to.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Do
Horton.
you mean to tell me something this big and this important as far as EMS is concerned, that there is only one company that makes it? No, I didn't think so. You only got bids from one. It's got to be something else.
Back during budget process, when we were looking at things of trying to enhance the actual capital improvement plan, this was identified. This program, the Zoll, the defibrillators there, like Janice was saying, it ties back in everything, including our billing. And I think that's the large part, because once we have taken billing back in-house, we have seen a large increase in the revenue brought in on billing. When it first started back during budget process, it was a lease agreement. Our finance director at that time, Melanie, said, I'd rather see us do a purchase. That is why she went out and she asked for bids as far as financing. So it is considered a sole source because it ties back into everything that we've got, Mr. James.
Well, you know, state contract, if you didn't know this now, you don't go by that if you're going to buy something. There's a lot of things you buy just cheaper elsewhere than state contract. This is nothing but politics.
That's right, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're buying it less
I
than
would
state
hope
contract.
so. So don't even consider that. But that kind of disturbs me that something costs this much money, Noah, that you tell me that, Mark, that this is the only bid that we got. And we didn't look evidently very hard on the internet or somewhere for something else.
But all the other products there did not tie back into our system, Mr. James.
That you have already
Yes, sir.
that you're locked in with.
Yes, sir.
Is that a good, is
Well,
that
again,
good?
It's good from the standpoint that we have the standardization of the equipment in all the squads, all the trucks, and to the hospital. How about the city of Greenville?
City of Greenville also coming along with this same type
So
project.
as folks move from one squad to another, and a lot of these folks work in multiple squads, they're using the same equipment as they get on one EMS truck to another. Yeah, you could probably find other equipment out there, manufacturers, but then there's going to be you're going to have to know how that works compared to the Zoll works.
Being sure that it can interface.
Correct.
Before we go on, Ms. Lynn, then I'll recognize you, Ms. Upton. I think you said that you had checked with other areas as far as the price was concerned and the equipment, and that you found nothing that was less. It wasn't like you were putting out bids, but you did check even out of state.
Right, we did
companies.
check.
So
There was
I
an
think
EMS.
that has been done, but we're still better off money-wise and equipment-wise. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I
Commissioner Johnson,
second Mr. Owens' motion.
did you make it,
Approval.
Mr. Owens?
I want to ask has this been through your committee oversight, Jimmy?
Yes, we've talked about it.
I thought you had.
Well,
I-
were you satisfied with it?
I now move, Madam.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Taking
Chair.
everything into consideration, yes.
Mr. Owens,
I move that we adopt this.
thank you.
Second.
And Mr. Johnson had seconded it. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Let's vote, please.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next item are appointments, and the first one is an appointment to the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. Mr. Elliott?
Yes, James Tripp, who's chair of the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, is recommending Dr. Pokey Nolan to fill seat number 9, as well as Kenneth Laws to fill seat number 11. This would be a term that would expire, they're both being filled to seats with unexpired terms that would expire October 11th, 2012, and the other one October 20th, 2012. After that point in time, they'd
Motion
be
to
available
approve.
for 2 full terms.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Madam Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to abstain from this. I just want to explain my abstention as that one of the members is an employer of mine, and I don't want to be seen as giving any partiality.
Okay, thank you very much. And let's vote if there's no other. Okay, thank you. And next is a reappointment to the Brownson Board of Adjustment.
Correct.
We
Madam
need to
Chairman.
do these separately.
Madam Chairman, I believe we do need to do these separately,
Okay,
but we have a letter from the mayor of Grimesland indicating that he did not have additional applicants for these 2 boards, and I would first move that we approve the reappointment to the Board of Adjustments, Randy Riddle and Dan Strickland.
all right.
Madam Chairman, if we can just note that this is an exception to your appointment policy.
Yes,
Right,
yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Let's vote, please. Okay, and the next one?
Then I would move that we reappoint Annie Clemens, and Jackie Harrington for the planning board of the town of Grimesland.
Okay.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, let's vote. Okay, and next are reappointments to the Pitt County ABC Board.
Yes, Madam Chairman, you have Gene Wilkerson's term and John Mingy's term expire August 31st, and Teresa Campbell is recommending both members be reappointed, be a 3-year term expiring in August of 2015. Our recommendation is for the board to consider either new appointments or these reappointments.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Johnson.
I would propose that we vote for 2 separate seats. The Mingy seat as one, and the Wilkerson seat as another. And I would move that we appoint Melanie Bryan to the Wilkerson seat.
Second.
ABC Board.
Okay. All right, any discussion? Any
I
other?
move that we reappoint to Wilkerson also.
Okay. We have 2 motions.
Yep, and we'll treat them as nominations, if you will, Madam Chair,
Okay,
since there's
that'll be
more than
fine as
one.
nominations
And then you
instead
would
of
vote in
appointments.
reverse order. Unless there are any other nominations from the floor, you'd vote
Okay.
on Ms. Wilkerson first. If that passes, that's finished.
Okay.
If not, then you'll consider Ms. Bryan.
All
Okay.
right, so,
Any,
may I ask a question?
yes, sir?
So John's seat is not being
We
voted on?
haven't brought that up
Okay,
yet.
that's all right then.
Okay, motion we have on the floor is to reappoint, is our, for our first nomination, is for reappointment of Gene Wilkerson.
And okay. And it appears that there was a vote already, as long as that's okay. When it comes up, we'll just ask folks to confirm.
Okay.
That fails.
Okay, and that motion failed. Our next motion is to appoint Melanie Bryan to that seat. Any comments? Okay, let's vote.
That passes.
Okay, thank you.
But,
Yes, sir?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint John Minges to the Pitt County ABC Board.
Second.
Okay, any other nominations? Okay, let's vote, please. Okay, we have reached the end of our agenda, except for our commissioners' comments. We'll start with you, Mr. Webb.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just an update on the NACO conference that Mr. McLaughlin and I attended. I'll just cover the portion of the Justice and Public Safety Steering Committee real briefly. We just sent several resolutions to our organization that will push in Congress to continue the Justice Reinvestment Act grants that come down to the county level to support law enforcement, EMS, and other public safety entities. The current economic situation isn't unique to our county, so that's something we're pushing as a national association to continue those funding sources. Thank you.
Okay, good, thank you. Mr. McLaughlin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I thought this was one of the best attended session that we've had in quite some time. One of the focus was on the community infrastructure. Municipality focuses on green infrastructure. Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, along with the other municipalities, join forces, and I think this is just probably a good idea for some of the municipalities in this area to do, to join forces in recognizing establishing a multi-municipal commission and emphasizing the green infrastructure. We also talked about, and I think we're very fortunate here in Pitt County, that we have the building of the new veteran hospital, and that there's a national move now to provide more insight to the lives of our combat men and women veterans and the issues that they will face when they come home. The issues of jobs and homelessness and medical services. And again, because of the fact that we have the veteran hospital being built here, I think it behooves us now to sort of get ready for this and focus strongly on trying to help our veterans. The other thing that I thought was very, very important, and this is for all of the citizens, and Scott will probably be talking a little bit more about this later, but on Dignity and Respect campaign. This is a campaign that was launched by the Allegheny County in Pennsylvania, and adopting this resolution across the nation. All counties adopting this resolution on dignity and respect, respecting from the citizens' standpoint, the county's leaders, the county employees, and sort of adopting this as a way of moving forward, because you can't move forward if you don't share dignity and respect. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. McLaughlin. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, thank you. There will be a very important meeting of the Pitt County School Board in this auditorium tonight at 6:30. And one of the items is a report from the attorney who is guiding the school board toward unitary status. And that will be a very important item for the school board to look at. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
No
Commissioner
comment.
Carries. Commissioner Smith?
Last Wednesday, James, was it Wednesday or Tuesday? Wednesday. We went to Washington for a Mid-East meeting. And I think one thing that stuck in my mind that you have your RPOs and your MPOs, and that the area around the Piedmont, Charlotte area, they want to change the amount of funding, the way it's appropriated to each district. They want a higher percentage placed upon the population instead of really the need for roads. And this is something in the East we should be very much aware of and let our legislatures know that the formula of the funding does not need to be changed, in my view. James, would you like to say something about it?
You did. And the board has, I will mention, a couple of years ago this came up, and the board has already gone on record to be in opposition to any changes to the equity formula.
I remember that. Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner James?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I want to thank this board, to the citizens of all over Pitt County, really, and most of all to East Carolina University for cooperating, for working with the citizens north of the river, primarily the Bedford community, pertaining to their health care. And to me and to the people that live in that particular area, this was very important. Remember, the med school, one of the big things that it promised us when it came to Eastern North Carolina, that they would service the rural people with rural doctors and so forth. But it was beginning to look like, to a lot of us, that we were forgetting that particular promise. And I do, and the people in my area do want to thank East Carolina University, Broder School of Medicine, for what they have done, and we are hoping that we will continue to work together, cooperate, and serve the citizens in that area, because we're not only talking about the people north of the river, but we're talking about Oak City, Coneta, those particular areas.
Palmer-Lee and Robertson.
Palmer-Lee, that's right. Well, Robertsonville has their own. But those particular areas have been served by this clinic for years and years. As a matter of fact, as I often say, I have 3 sons. All 3 of them were born in that particular building. And it is wonderful, I think, that what East Carolina University has done for those people, and they appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you, Mr. James. Mr. Hammond?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to thank Sheriff for being in attendance to the public meeting that was held at CML's center relative to gang violence and black-on-black crime last week. I met with Keith Cooper of the Benevolent Corps yesterday. He came by and publicly express thanks to you, and they are trying their best to apply for some grant funding from the federal government relative to helping with this situation. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Owens?
You know, today's beginning the second month, I guess, our next fiscal year. It was interesting, the budget amendments that we had, and I think all of them are very appropriate for this, but 2 things that were of interest to me. 2 agencies one of them had about $250,000, and one of them in excess of $500,000 of rollover. I know we're supposed to be conservative with our money, but at a time that we are told we're in dire straits for money, but yet we have a $250,000 rollover and one rollover in excess of $1 million. That's just my observation.
Mr. Owens, can I just add a note to that? Most of those funds are grant funds that roll over from year to year. They're not general fund dollars.
Okay.
And that gets back to what Eugene said earlier, Scott. It doesn't make a tinker's toot, but it's all the people's money.
I don't get that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
I was neglecting saying, I think all the people sitting around this table and that's in this office building recognize that we have the best legal staff in the state. And I just, as a citizen, I just like to let the citizens know out there that Janice was elected state officer. And it just exemplifies the fact that she is good.
Yes, thank you.
Exemplifies.
No adjourn.
All right, let's
Go on,
vote,
man,
and we
now.
may go. Mr. Yeah.